Hello, this is Dread, and in today's video topic, this is going to be the Zero to Hero episode on the Lightning Shuriken Bladedancer. This is a build I've been wanting to do for a while now. The biggest reason I've been wanting to do it is because I like Shuriken. Shuriken was actually the skill that I league started on Rogue when it came out, and it's been a fan favorite since then. But the problem is, over the past few years, it hasn't really seen that much love from the devs for the most part. And then we had the whole Chakram stuff, and they were OP for a little bit, and then those got nerfed on the head. And then we had the epidemic that was the Lightning Shuriken bug. If you don't know, there was a bug with Blade Shield where if you grabbed it and then you shot out shurikens with shadows, it would make them all shotgun. I'll get into more about why that was later on in the video when we talk about the build mechanics. So pretty much you were doing infinite damage then. And of course, I don't like incorporating bugs or exploits in my builds, mainly just because I just don't like doing that. So, you know, I stayed away from it for a while, but finally it's been fixed and I got around to doing it. Mainly just because I wanted to play around with Blade Shield. So first things off, let's talk about what are the goals of this character. So my goals are to reach 700 corruption and kill Abberoth within 2 days of playtime. My playtime varies from yours, but I tried to speed through it as fast as possible while also being relaxed while playing and just enjoying myself, watching some, Netflix on the side and stuff like that. And my time is different than yours. Like, it might take a week of time to do it because, they might play in 2-hour increments. That's all just up to you. It's just how long it took me to do it personally. And of course, what is Soul Character Found? It is a self-imposed flag you can use when creating a character that disassociates it from all of your other characters' progression, items, and inventories. This allows us to test the build in a fresh environment, and it allows me to make sure that the build actually functions as if you were a new player and you started up the game and you had nothing. That's the whole idea behind this. Now let's talk about the build concept. So I wanted to play around with Blade Shield. Blade Shield is really cool. It makes a bunch of shurikens rotate around you and they, shred through enemies. The biggest problem with Blade Shield is when you have a shuriken, right, and it hits through an enemy and it rotates, even if you have 100% pierce chance, that shuriken will not hit the enemy twice, no matter what. So it may look like as though it's moving through the enemy, but it is not doing additional damage. That means every cast of shurikens is its own instance of damage, and it cannot be overridden in normal ways. But something interesting that I found out after a lot of testing is if you cast Blade Shield, each new shuriken is new again. So if you cast the Blade Shield and then prematurely cast the Blade Shield again, it's a new set of blades and those can all hit the target. Now, this doesn't sound like it would work that well, but it turns out the shurikens, when you cast them, they originate from the character's body when they cast it. So if I'm sitting here and I'm casting Blade Shield, all of those shurikens, their hitboxes, they start from inside the character and then leave the character in kind of like a pushing out motion, and then they start spinning. Now, what this allows us is to face fuck an enemy, right? Like, this is effectively the face fuck Bladedancer build, right? If we're gonna meme around about it, right? You sit right on top of the enemy and you spam throwing attack speed, and you can get a surprising amount of DPS very quickly by just simply doing that. So that's the idea, is we take Blade Shield, we pump it up, make it do as much damage as possible, sit on top of the enemy's head, try to make sure we're tanky enough to survive all the hits, and do as much damage as possible while being as close as possible. This is as melee as you can possibly get it for a single target. But there is a caveat, a problem. Blade Shield has no clear. It has no clear. When I walk over enemies with Blade Shield, it's like, okay, it's cool. It works against enemy mobs, like melee enemy mobs, but it does not work against range enemies. It doesn't have any clear. It feels terrible to actually try to clear with. So that's thankfully where game mechanics are in our favor. If you have a shadow and you cast Shuriken, that Shuriken that is cast from the shadow will have the normal behavior of Shuriken, but still have the same tree. Now, this used to be bugged where Blade Shield would make it so that all those Shurikens would shotgun from the shadow. That was bugged and you did infinite damage then. They fixed that bug, so now we can play the game again because Shurikens are not supposed to shotgun by themselves normally without Blade Shield, right? So, but the problem is, if you cast a Shuriken on a shadow, it's not going to make a Blade Shield. That would be an interesting idea for a unique, maybe. It would be insane for damage, by the way. That would be interesting, but it would be nonsensical for it to create a Blade Shield, whether that be above yourself or above the enemy. But what this means is instead, it will shoot out the Shurikens and pierce enemies, you know, with the 100% pierce chance and actually clear. So if we create like 5 shadows, we use like Synchronized Strike to make shadows and attack with Shurikens. Sure, we make the Blade Shield, but then all the other shadows will do normal Shurikens, and that is our clear. And that is how we function as a build in the endgame. We simply clear with shadows, and then we use them for extra DPS on single target, and then we, of course, use Blade Shield for all of our single targets. So most of our single target is coming from spamming Blade Shield, which is really funny and kind of like it's really fun to play. Like this build felt really fun to play, let me tell you. Now let's talk about some mandatory items. So I didn't start with these items obviously because we're, you know, playing in solo character found, but the way that I view it is you want to get Fulgurite shards first. Those are like the most important thing ever, is getting double Fulgurite shard and then start getting them with LP, because eventually, you know, you can get some really strong affixes on them like crit multi and stuff like that, and that helps your damage significantly. So getting double Fulgurite shard is very, very, very important. Thankfully, the moment you get one Fulgurite shard, you can imprint it and then drop a bunch of other Fulgurite shards, and then eventually through that you can eventually get LP ones. So as long as you at least get one, you're good to go. It's not that rare for Rune of Ascendance, so you just spam Runes of Ascendance on Fulgurite shards or on daggers until you get a Fulgurite shard. Cool. The next thing that it's not mandatory per se. I'm using this term mandatory items, but what I mean by mandatory is you should probably have some of these items by the time you go kill Abberoth or by the time you start pushing corruption, because otherwise it's going to feel a little uncomfortable, let me tell you. So we have the lightning flat damage with Shurikens. This affix can be on idols, it can be on chest, and it can be on helmet. We want it everywhere. It is an absurd amount of flat damage. Flat damage is one of the main ways of scaling this character. The second thing of way of scaling this character is throwing attack speed. We want throwing attack speed everywhere. Everywhere we can get it, we are an absolute slut for throwing attack speed. Like, we want it. Not only does it give us damage with Blade Shield, it also gives us mana sustain because we can run the node that gives us mana whenever we use a 0 mana cost skill. And then with Blade Shield, what that would do is it would give us mana back, and the more mana we can get per second, the less we need to worry about our own mana in regards to Synchronized Strike, because we aren't running like too much Synchronized Strike mana efficiency, and we can get away with that because of how much throwing attack speed we have. And the last thing is just Loraka's Claws. The main reason is not only is a lot of throwing crit multi, which is good for us, right? It's also plus projectiles with Shurikens. And of course, if you know how Blade Shield works, like I talked about in the build concept area, you will get more damage if you have more Shurikens, because more Shurikens will pop out and they will shotgun on the enemy and deal more damage. So we want as many Shurikens as humanly possible. So Loraka's Claws is like best in slot for us, pretty much. Now let's talk about the skills that we use. Now for Blade Shield, we use it for all of our single target, we use it for our clear, we use it for everything, and we want it to do as much damage as possible. Blade Shield is required to make the build function. Ethereal Blades is also required to make the build function, because otherwise you'll have no clear, because you want all of the Shuriken little projectiles to pierce through enemies. When we're clearing, you actually don't need this if you are just using Blade Shield for single target, but if you're using, you know, Shurikens for actual clear purposes, you definitely want the pierce. Entry points is a very large amount of more damage for us. It's very easy to get. All the additional Shurikens gives us even more damage, which is good for us. And then bladed armor is amazing. I tried to play without bladed armor for a little bit, And let me tell you, no, you should be playing with bladed armor. It is an absolute obscene amount of percent armor for free. And it's like one of the main reasons to even do this is the fact that we get access to bladed armor 100% of the time. Because normally what builds would do is they would run like shift and then run the Shuriken node and then they would get bladed armor. But we not only get more than 5 Shurikens for that because we're self-casting Shuriken, so we get more armor percent from that. We also get it with 100% uptime, which is insane. Bladed armor is crazy. Synchronized Strike is a lot of utility. It gives us a lot of clear thanks to Dark Allies. Having like 4 shadows throwing Shurikens allows us to shotgun enemies and actually kill them. Shadow Rush keeps us alive. Lots of health on shadow creation is great. Percent damage for our shadows just means that, our non-blade shield shurikens can actually kill trash. Dynamics is good for, mana efficiency, of course. We want the mana to be low. Thankfully, we don't have to grab that much outside of Synchronized Strike for mana efficiency because of how much mana we get per second, because of, how blade shield works. And then we have Art of the Blade for just attack speed global. We want attack speed. We are a slut for attack speed. Every single smidgen of attack speed we can get, we're just going to pipe it down our hot mouths. We love attack speed. Smoke Bomb is very good, it turns out, especially when you half its cooldown and make it a traversal skill. It has pretty much become one of the premier movement skills for Rogue now, and it shows. Not only do we get extra shadow creation, so on single target, we put our smoke bomb on single target, and it gives us extra shuriken cast for a little bit of extra DPS. It gives us access to smoke blades, the smoke blades buff, which is a lot of throwing flat. And this is really good early on because this is a flat amount pretty much of throwing flat that we get that isn't affected by, gear levels or anything like that. So the moment that we swap to shurikens, this amount of flat is integral to making your early game feel really good. And of course, later on, it's just a buff, which is good. Blood Bandit just gives us a little bit of throwing leech. This makes it so we don't have to go and get the throwing leech blessing early on. And then Moonlight Bomb is just a lot of Silver Shrouds. Silver Shrouds are really good. They let you dodge things that you shouldn't. It's great. Umbral Blades. There's a meme in my community that every single build on Rogue is an Umbral Blades build. And they're not necessarily wrong, and that's because of the existence of Umbral Remnant. It's not very hard to add Umbral Blades into your build. Let me tell you, it's not that hard at all. And we use it in this build for extra clear, and we use it to apply shadow daggers and stuff like that. Now, trust me, I tested this character without and with the shadow daggers nodes. I tried it with and without Umbral Blades. It does not add that much single target. It's just simply there to assist and clear, right? That's all it really is there for. So, and it also helps us pump up armor shred as well. So just leaving that out there. It's just free damage. We might as well. For Decoy, so unfortunately, Decoy's tree isn't that impactful. It's fine. It does stuff. It gives us frailty stacks, all this and all that. It's cool and all. It's good. But mainly, we're just specking Decoy because we don't have anything else to specialize in. If there was something useful that we could specialize here, we'd probably put it here. But it's really not that high priority, right? So we end up just using Decoy here. You can look at this skill tree that I put in the description if you want to see what I spec for Decoy. But pretty much, we just use it to make the big scary champion mob run away from us. That's really all it is. That is the extent of what we use it for. Now, let's talk about the offensive stats that we actually care about. So, first things off, we want as much throwing flat as humanly possible. Throwing flat damage is really good for our build because it comes in a lot of chunks on our helmet, our rings, our gloves, our relic, our amulet. We want throwing flat literally everywhere we can possibly get it because Rogue gets a lot of crit and crit multi and percent damage and all this and all that. The only thing that they don't get for quote unquote for free is the flat damage associated with throwing attacks, which means that we need to scale that. So we get throwing at flat damage everywhere. It is the biggest contributor to your damage as it's the base of your damage, which everything else multiplies from. We also focus on throwing attack speed, because the faster throwing attack speed we have, not only the faster does our mana fill up with, with the mana nodes, so we can spam Sync Strike more for more damage. It also gives us more single target DPS. It also makes the build just feel good to play. The more throwing attack speed we have, the more smooth the build's going to feel. And throwing attack speed does actually apply, I believe, to Smoke Bomb as well, which is cool. Makes it faster. So overall, throwing attack speed is an amazing stat for us. And then, of course, as well, the rest of the gear is crit and crit multi. Make sure you're crit capped, right? Do the calculations. Percent damage, and then eventually penetration and shred and shock and all that. For items, in terms of, our offensive capabilities, Fulgurite Shards, like I said in the build intro, Luraka's Claws, giving us extra projectiles, and throwing crit multi is good. And of course, make sure to look for items like Exile Hat that has a good base for throwing percent damage, and like pretty much stuff like that. We just want as much damage as possible. We're a rogue, we're supposed to do this. Now for our tankiness, we do have to care about it a lot more than normal rogue builds care, mainly because when we use Blade Shield, we have to be on top of the enemy to kill them for Blade Shield for single target. So we do need more defenses than your average stereotypical rogue build. Thankfully, we get that by stacking a lot of armor. Not only do we get a lot of flat armor from the correct bases, we get an obscene amount of percent armor from bladed armor at constant times, which allows us to get a very large amount of armor very quickly as a rogue, and that on top of all of your glancing blow chance from your free glancing blow. It also helps out when we stack a lot of HP as well. We are stacking as much HP as possible. We just want it everywhere. Everywhere we can shove it, everywhere, just every single suffix, everywhere we can get it, HP, HP, HP on the correct armor bases. That is pretty much it for your defenses as a rogue. You have Decoy as, for more tough encounters. You have access to Silver Shrouds for bosses, stuff like that. It's cool and all, but mainly we're armor stacking for the most part. And of course, before we move on to the 0 to hero section of the video, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, as not only is that the best way of supporting me, it's also the best way to show me that you want more content like this video. Now, with all that being said, start the video, shall we? All right, character creation, once more into the breach. This time, the name's going to be Kura Kura. That's because that's a song by Ado. A little bit of Dread lore. When I started making YouTube content around like 4 years ago, that was about when Ado specifically became like a bigger name in the industry. She's like from Japan, and she does really good music. And like I said, I work very long hours, so I end up listening a lot of music, right? And her music specifically has been really good, and it's kind of like given me a lot of enjoyment over the past 4 years. It's kind of special to me, mainly because like it kind of feels like as though my entire journey of making content, specifically for Last Epoch, has kind of coincided to her journey to now she's like becoming a household name. And just recently, we're going to be going to like a concert as well, a live concert. It'll be like the first one I've ever gone to. So just a little bit of Dreadlord there, just a little bit. You should give the song a listen if you get a chance. But we are going to be leveling as the stereotypical bow puncture rogue. Unfortunately, this is just the way to go. Like I can't really sugarcoat it. Like I have a very specific way I like leveling rogue. I like leveling puncture bleed into puncture bleed plus Umbral Blades into puncture bleed plus shift into Umbral Blades. That is how I like to do things for rogue. It is one of the most satisfying ways to level currently in the game, in my opinion, like from my point of view and how much I level. It's a very smooth point to level. It's a very easy way to get into the higher, amounts of content, like into empowered monos. You can literally take the Umbral Blade setup and push it all the way to empowered monos and have a good time. Although the only problem is you are incentivized to go marksman because marksman gives a very large early game boost for this kind of setup, while Blade Dancer's boost isn't as high as it could be. And it's more of like a late game thing for Blade Dancer, because when you immediately get your mastery, you get the 50% increased damage while wielding a bow, and you get like all of the bow attack speed, and that makes your puncture feel a lot better. It gives you a lot of percent damage, and all of that just makes the build feel much smoother to play while leveling. So we will have to respec into a Blade Dancer, I believe. But overall, really fun way to level. I'm going to leave a video in the description on how I level this character every single time. Simply just watch that video, take some spark notes, skip around, look at the planners in the description, right, of that video and this one as well, and you can see how I leveled it. And then once we get to level 40, we can, talk about it more. All right, here we are and doing our mastery real quick. We're skipping around a little bit. We're going to be unlocking mastery for marksman here. I'm deciding on whether or not I should do it. And you know what? I decide, screw it. We're just going to go marksman and respec into a Blade Dancer later when it's more convenient. All right, here's me doing the act or whatever boss. I'll be honest, usually I call the Divine Era Act 1, I call the Void Area Act 2, and I call the Undead Area Act 3, and then I call the new Divine Area Act 4, when you go kill 2 more goddess. But I know it's not correct. I know that there's better ways of doing the chapters and shit like that, but that's just how I've mentally looked at it this entire time. Something a little new though, a little bit new tech. It turns out if you grab all of the nodes inside marksman for the ward nodes, you end up with a much tankier marksman experience for leveling, and you end up just feeling so much tankier. It's crazy how much tankier you actually feel when you grab all of the ward nodes, especially early on. It leads to you being able to pretty much just face tank stuff, because not only are you getting 1,000 ward eventually every single time you pop your silver shrouds, you also get a lot of ward per second thanks to the elemental arrow stuff. Because the thing with rogue, it's interesting. The problem with it is you get so much damage for free that it ends up becoming a case where you just need survivability, right? I can do damage, I can kill things in an appropriate amount of time. I need damage. I need survivability. And that's the problem with rogue is you need to focus on that survivability a lot more than you would other classes, focusing on items that give you less damage but give you more survivability, maybe using a shield on your Blade Dancer, maybe using even a Titan Heart with 2 LP and double HP suffixes, mainly just to get even more HP, even though you're not using a two-hander or whatever, using a null portent. You end up kind of starting to focus a lot more on defenses when you realize when you're playing a marksman, or you go the complete ZHP route and you push 20,000 corruption with a build that's probably going to get removed from the game very soon, right? Those are the two things you go with rogue. You either make yourself infinitely tanky, or you make yourself not tanky whatsoever, but you just kill everything on the screen anyways because they forgot to adjust some numbers. So yeah, but yeah, here's the end of Act 3 or whatever you want to call it at this point. I don't even care. The twins. Now here's our first monolith. We are still playing as Umbral Blades, unfortunately, but that's because the mastery respec cost is very aggressive. It takes a lot of effort to respec very early on, which is weird because I thought that was the point was to make it easier to respec early on. Who knows? Whatever. But yeah, you do have to spend a little bit of time in the trenches and not play the Shuriken build, but it's fine because you get to play a very comfy build. You get to play puncture Umbral Blades. It's not the best thing since sliced bread. There are better. You can play Shadow Daggers this early on. Shadow Daggers Blade Dancer is a completely fine option to play all the way until you get Umbral Blades as well. There's more than just one option. Just because I bleed Umbral Blades marksman stuff early on, it doesn't mean it's the correct choice. It just means it's the correct choice for me. Now, we were able to respec. We have not converted into lightning yet, but I was very surprised when I respec'd. I'll be honest with you. The mana was a little difficult because we didn't have any, throwing attack speed, we didn't have that much, but the mana really surprised me. It really did actually surprise me. Like, it was like this build really just overall surprised me all the way through of progression, mainly just in terms of how much damage we had for single target, while also our decent clear. Like, I know it doesn't like look that good in the picture, but I remember fondly that a few monos after this, after I got like a few more pieces of the puzzle, I ended up feeling really good with the build, and I just enjoyed it from start to finish. Like, I have very fond memories about this build. Very, very fond memories, because what you can do in the end game is you Synchronized Strike on top of the rare, then use then use Shuriken, right? And then the Blade Shield will kill the rare, and then all of the extra shadows will auto-target the trash around the rare and kill those as well. So you end up with this really satisfying moment where not only do you kill the rare with one click, you also kill the entire pack with one click as well. And it just ends up feeling really good later on. I did a bunch of monkeying around too in terms of like passives, like which I need, what I don't need, because this build, while I did test it thoroughly, I did not, get the feel right until like later on, I'll be honest. Like, I tried a bunch of different things. I tried ricochets. I tried all these other ways of scaling the character, and this is still what I ended up with, because I'm never done theory crafting. I'm never done testing with these characters. Even when I'm finished playing them, I'm thinking about the next time I'm going to play them, right? All right, here's our summon A-Bomb. I usually try to drag him a little bit closer to the center, mainly just so that, it's easier to dodge his attacks and stuff. As you can see, the damage is there. Every single time I actually get to like sit inside of him. It's kind of weird because the bigger they are, you would think that it'd be easier to actually hit them with all the shurikens, but that's actually quite the opposite. The bigger they are, it's a little bit harder to hit them with all the shurikens because you're not entering their body, if that makes sense. It's awkward. You'll understand it if you play the build, right? Now here's our second monolith. As you can see, a lot more damage. We get access to Umbral Blades. I was still wondering if I should grab Umbral Blades or not, and it turns out, yeah, you just grab Umbral Blades. Like, maybe one day they'll change this, who knows, but Umbral Blades really is like one of the, easiest things to do as a rogue. Like, you just plop it on your bar, you create shadows, and you profit. It's just how it is. It does help us actually get to our stack of ailments that we need to get to for the 90% more damage for Shuriken, so that they can do more damage. So they have a very good utilitarian purpose, as well as helping us stack armor shred on a low amount of armor shred chance. Because I remember, if I'm not mistaken, throughout the entirety of the character, I had a very low amount of armor shred chance, but I was still reaching my armor shred like goals I needed to get to make myself do damage, and that is because I had Umbral Blades extra, because Umbral Blades just hits that many times, right? And overall, character feels good so far. It's just really smooth ride. Really smooth ride. You can really see when the blade shield starts popping off, All right, here is our summon Rye. To give you an idea, this is my Rye. You can see like all the flurry of numbers happening when we are standing next to Rye. That is the blade shield going off. That is how this build works. You can really tell when you're actually inside Rye and like doing all of the shurikens on him. Like, you can very easily tell, like the numbers go up and up and up, and it's great. Like I said, it's easier actually the smaller they are, which is really awkward and kind of half-ass backwards. Here's our Lagan kill. We actually got him to 25%. That is because we finally managed to get some, I think I got a Fulgurite shard, and I also got some lightning throwing flat. So this is like when the build really starts popping off. Yeah, because before you had no throwing flat but now you have a lot of throwing flat. Now, Emperor of Corpse is a little bit weird because his hitbox is actually way bigger than all the other bosses, so it makes it way easier to shotgun them, as you can tell. I don't know if you can notice, but like whenever we get to actually sit inside of him, we absolutely shred him. Now here's our first level 90 monolith, and as of course you get higher in level, you get more access to more flat damage, and you get more access to throwing attack speed, and the build starts feeling better and better and better and better. Like, it feels exponential almost. Like, we start with humble beginnings, but the moment that we get any amount of flat, the moment we get a Fulgurite, the moment we get some throwing attack speed exalteds, like whenever we get stuff like that, that's like when things start really pumping up, because all of a sudden our blade shield multiplies significantly in terms of damage, and our one-shot potential in terms of clear for trash ends up getting a lot better. Just all of these things get monumentally better the more you get, and it feels amazing. Like, absolutely amazing, and I love it. Here's our shaman kills. I actually just went in there and just said fuck it instead of like trying to drag them out, mainly because I knew I had the damage just to burst them down. So I just said fuck it, just YOLO, who cares, do it, why not? And yeah, even with the survivability too so far, as you can see, we're kind of just tanking everything, just taking hit after hit after hit. And that's because the shadow on health creation just ends up giving you so much health that like you can be at like a 50 health and then use Synchronized Strike once, and all of a sudden you're back to max health, and it's great. And this, on top of just having a smidgen of leech inside Smoke Bomb's tree, allows you to, you know, actually tank things like you're supposed to. And then eventually, if you were smart, unlike me, and you grab Blade Shield, you could do this even further, right? Here's our Herot kill. I just skipped because, you know, I don't want to waste your guys' time. It's just simply waiting for him to get out of, you know, the DR phase, maybe one day, maybe this century, who knows? He does take a while, doesn't he? But he's actually one of the easier bosses to sit inside of for some reason. I don't know why. So something interesting, I ended up dropping a 1 LP Fulgurite shard, and because of that, I wanted to go and slam it. The problem is, I had to go do tier 2 Jurla instead of just tier 1 Jurla. Tier 1 Jurla is a complete joke by the time you get to Empowered Monos, but tier 2 Jurla is a little bit more of a boss fight. But I said, fuck it, we're going to go through the fight anyways because I want my fucking LP Fulgurite shard. I want some motherfucking crit multi. And that's what we end up getting, is some crit multi on our Fulgurite shard. And it feels amazing to have it this early on. Here is our first Harbinger. Thankfully, the Thin Harbingers are actually really easy to get inside of, so you can actually, you know, really DPS them down with Blade Shield, as you can see. Like, whenever we get to actually do Blade Shield shenanigans, we do so much damage. It's so fucking funny just watching, like, the HP bars go down as you're Blade Shielding them. You know, it's great. Now, here is our first empowered monolith here. As you can see, it's starting to feel really smooth. We are not the tankiest character whatsoever yet. I still don't believe I have Blade Shield yet, unfortunately. Like I said, big mistake on my part not having Blade Shield, but, you know, I suffered without it anyways. I think Blade Shield is definitely one of the first picks eventually when you actually level this character, mainly just because, you know, it would make you way tankier in situations like this. But also, to be blunt, I'm at 13 to 1400 HP in level 100 content, you know, like, and also I'm pretty much like taking all the hits like a champ. You know, that's pretty good, it turns out. Like, that is pretty good. This is a very low amount of HP to have. Like, I would have been comfortable at maybe like 2000, maybe, and maybe some armor. And I probably don't have resistance cap either. Like, let me tell you guys, I make my job so much more difficult than it has to be sometimes. Mainly because, like, I just kind of push until I feel like I'm too squishy, and then I look at my gear. I don't kind of proactively check my gear. I usually reactively check my gear. I'm like, grumble, grumble, grumble. How did that crit me? And then I go and look. I'm like, oh, I need some crit avoid or something like that. Oh, grumble, grumble, grumble. That ignite killed me. Why'd that happen? Oh, I have no fire res. I'm more of a reactionary player in that regard. I would not be very good in hardcore. Now, here is the second Harbinger. As you can see, not only did we get some ward when you create a shadow, which of course makes us really tanky, and we also ended up going to 1800 HP while also getting some damage. So being in Empowered Monos for a little bit just starts dropping so much loot, and that's like the thing. That's like why rushing to Empowereds is so important, is because the amount of time that you spend killing enemies in level 100 content is so much more efficient than trying to level in shitty content. It's not even funny, the difference in loot quality at 100 versus like, 90 or 85 or whatever, right? Like it's a huge difference. And as you can see, that jump from where we're at 1400 HP, no ward or anything like that, to this where we're doing plenty of damage and we're surviving. Like I literally just sat in that. Like it's great. Here's our first Orbis. Orbis actually isn't that big of a problem for us, unironically. Like sometimes if you get a really spoopy Orbis, like a blood Orbis on top of like, maybe, I don't know, the shaper balls or whatever, that's a little annoying. But what ends up happening is I can kind of just sit inside Orbis the whole time and it's fine for the most part. Of course, we got to dodge some stuff, like normal builds do. But generally, we can kind of sit inside Orbis and just blade shield them to death. We're missing a lot of damage currently as well. A good example is I believe that I'm currently running a Trader's Tongue that I don't need to be running. I could be running a second Fulgurite eventually, stuff like that. There's a lot of damage we're missing currently. Now here is our Harbinger of Ash. I hadn't really changed my philosophy on how I played builds at this point. Pretty much I've changed my philosophy on how I do the progression. I just focus on one mono and push it to 300 corruption now. And then I go and do my 10 out of 10. This was before that. So we're kind of doing, all of the Harbingers piecemeal still. And, we're still doing completely fine in, progression. Completely fine. Feels good. Speaking of Harbingers, here's the Harbinger of Treason. Another Harbinger in our way. Thankfully, as you can tell, we've got a lot of upgrades. We're at 2,800 HP at this point, which is phenomenal, mind you, as a rogue. The HP buffs really are showing true this patch. Like 3,000 HP on a rogue a few hours into the character, like that was unheard of back then. So like having actual HP as a rogue, it feels liberating, actually. And now another Harbinger, this time Harbinger of War. I'm really just kind of stacking as much HP as possible. I'm really surprised at how quickly I actually got HP. Now that I'm like actually looking back on the footage, like, look at me, I'm already at 3,400, dude. Like that's insane. That's insane. I think I got a little lucky in terms of HP, guys. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like as though I did. I might have to go look at the gear, but I feel like I have more than your stereotypical average rogue build would have at this point. But we'll definitely have to see. Lots and lots of HP for this character. It makes it feel really good, right? It feels really fucking good. Now, boom, Harbinger of Pride. We're going to skip through these because it's just a bunch of extra Harbingers, right? Harbinger of Hatred. I was hoping to get Throwing Leech here, but did I? I can't remember if I did or not. Yeah, I did not get Throwing Leech, unfortunately. Now here, I realized that I probably should try to go for a Larakas, so I ended up using Runes of Ascendance on some gloves. I was getting too lazy. I didn't want to go and farm prophecies for the character at this point, so I was like, screw it, just give me a pair of Larakas, bitch. Like, I don't care. That's kind of the interesting thing. It's way different playing a character knowing that you're only going to play it for 2 days, mainly just because it kind of changes your priorities and what you focus on and how you feel about things. Because when I'm only playing for a short amount of time, I'm just like, fuck it, let's go, fuck it, let's finish this. And it ends up with my gear being way less than what you'd averagely have as a normal character at that point, because you don't spend the time doing your completion for your Woven Echoes, you don't spend time doing prophecies, right? So it's just really awkward and weird, I will say. Now we got the Larakas upgrade. Now you can probably tell that I did get some damage. Definitely got some damage here. We are just absolutely shredding through this guy's HP bars. It's great. Every single time I actually get to do blade shield stuff, it feels good. Feels really good. Getting all that extra flat from Smoke Blades, getting all those extra shadows from Smoke Bomb, and then, Synchronized Strike as well. All of that combined just lets me, feel really good. The only problem I would say is trying to like move my character through him and trying to make sure I'm inside of him is a little obnoxious, but there we got armor percent as well. Absolutely beautiful. I do just end up grabbing the armor percent. I just say, fuck it. Let's get even tankier. Woohoo! Who cares about cold resistance, right? Now here's some 300 corruption gameplay, just to give you an idea of what the gameplay of the character looks like at this point. Because remember, in between all of these Harbinger fights, I am doing monos again and again and again and again. It feels really good to be crit capped as well. Larakas also helps out a lot with clear. Like whenever it's anything that's like a rare, it gets blown up very quickly. Like trash gets blown up quickly. It just feels really convenient to play. I'm not gonna lie. This definitely is the kind of build that I would want to play again and like min-max to the extreme, mainly just because of how comfortable the build was. Like it was a very comfortable build. Now I'm like thinking back on it, very smooth operator worth of a build, right? God, just thinking about it makes me happy. Sometimes, you know, you find that build that you're just like, oh my goodness, like it feels so good. Like it feels like putting on a shoe that was meant for you, right? Like that's what it feels like. So I'm actually going to show this footage mainly just because of how much damage I do here. Like, it's so fucking dumb. Like, I like was paying attention, right, to the amount of time that it takes for me to kill a Harbinger before I got the Larakas and after I got the Larakas. And let me tell you, it's a huge difference. Look at that. Look at that baby go. Look at that. Oh my goodness. Remember, this is like at most 10 hours into the character too. Like, and it's not like, is it like it's just so fucking funny, dude. Oh, this build. When you get to actually sit inside their dick, it's great. Like, look at that. Like when I actually get to sit inside there, it's just really awkward to try to get in there, you know? You're kind of like getting in between their ass cheeks a little bit, you know, kind of like that itch that won't go away. Like, oh boy, this build. Like this build brings like a whole new way of playing a face hugger, you know, like you're get in their face, fuck it, you know, it's great. I checked the time again, and yep, it's just like the first, just like face fuck central, just fuck him in the face. You just like anything that has a decently sized hitbox that I can get inside of, it's like as you can see with the numbers, it's like it's so fucking good. It's so fucking funny to watch, man. Oh, dude. I don't know. I really might have to play this build again. Is it annoying to have to like kind of do this weird song and dance to get inside them? Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of weird, man. Like, I agree. It's a little weird, bro. But at the same time, is it worth it? Hell yeah, it's worth it. It's so much fun. Like, that's like the thing. Like, I don't even care if this build never does like Uber Abberoth. I'm just happy it exists. This is great. All right, here's the Abberoth kill. I'm just going to shut up and just let it do the talking. Unfortunately, you know, we are really melee, and Abberoth really punishes you for being a melee build through a lot of degens and stuff like that. But remember, this is at most 10 hours into the character, and we're already doing Abberoth. So, like, you know, I can't really complain, can I? So we're going to shut up. We're going to start some music here. All right, Abberoth is done. I have to explain how this works now. I have changed my tactic and how I push corruption for all of these characters pretty much going forward. The concept: we use a bunch of needles and all of the glyphs that we got throughout the entire experience. We do a 300 corruption harbinger 20 times in a row with all of the needles we have extra. And then we get a very large amount of gaze for the harbinger. And then spawn Orbis like 7 times in a row. And we jump up from 300 corruption all the way to around like maybe like 700 plus in 7 Orbises. The only problem is it's very annoying because you do 30 bosses in a row, right? Which is a little annoying. And then after that, you do like a mono, spawn Orbis, then Orbis, spawn mono, like Orbis, mono, Orbis, mono, Orbis, mono. And it's really annoying. Like at this point, I have dubbed it internally as the Orbis Gauntlet. The idea is we go through as many Orbises as quickly as possible. I literally try to do it as quickly as possible in the same session. I'm fighting the Orbises, right? We're finishing the monos as quickly as possible, and we just rush to the finish like a horse girl, right? You know, that's in season, right? It's great. No, it's not. Oh my god, they buffed Orbis, dude. Orbis like actually is not a pushover anymore. So it really is a gauntlet. It really is like the best test the character can get for the most part this early on is simply, what if you just did 7 Orbises in a row that progressively get harder and harder, right? And because of this Orbis Gauntlet, I have a lot of footage to talk over without much to say, to be honest, other than, yeah, look, another Orbis. Yeah, look, another Orbis. It's so fucking funny, dude. I love this game sometimes. Like, it's so funny to have an Orbis Gauntlet at the end of the run because, like, I'm too lazy to farm corruption normally, so I just needle my way all the way up there. So it's like, Orbis, Orbis, Orbis. Blood Orbis is definitely one of the more spoopy ones to get, though. Blood Orbis and those blood balls, they do a lot of damage. Like those blood balls, like if I have, I think 2 of them hit me, I'm dead. His basic attack actually hurts. Now, thankfully, we're actually semi-tanky, right? We're actually decently tanky. The problem is I can't face tank the meteor, right? Obviously, that would be stupid. I can't face tank the damage over time pool from the other big meteor. I can't face tank 2 of the balls at once, mainly just because that's just how much damage those balls do, right? After the buffs and all that. I can dodge a few though. And then like, you know, he's got that like teleport too with shotguns. Like you got to be very careful around Blood Orbises, let me tell you. It's kind of funny. I'm actually like watching how long the Orbis fights get, and they're actually not taking longer. They're taking around the same amount of time. So it doesn't really matter how much HP they have, apparently. So, and remember, each Orbis goes up by like 60 corruption. So we're pushing up every single time, and we have to do it like 7 times. This is number 3. Ah, yes. I might skip the next few or like make it quicker because let me tell you, the Orbis Gauntlet is a snooze fest. It is an absolute snooze fest. So I might try to think of something else to do. I don't know. I'm like trying to think of anything else to talk about at this point for Orbis, dude. Because it's just Orbis, Orbis, Orbis. Oh my goodness. Oh my god. I will say though, I want to give like some big props to EHG though, a little bit in like my rambly mess. Mainly because it's amazing to me that I can fight Orbis this many times in all of these runs again and again and again, and it's enjoyable, right? Because it's really hard for a game to make a boss that even the most entrenched players don't get bored of, if that makes sense. Like, it's not that easy, dude. Because, like, remember, ARPG players are absolute sluts for like playtime and stuff like that. So they end up fighting bosses and bosses and bosses. Like ask an average PoE player, you know, this circa this century, right? And ask him, how many times have you killed Shaper? Probably a very large amount of times. There's a lot of people that have killed the toilet boss in Path of Exile, right? They've killed these bosses so many times in a row, but it's not only that, right? Because Oribus, you have to fight him constantly, right? Yeah, like when you're doing Monolith stuff, you fight Oribus a lot. And you fight him like literally the moment you can do empowered monos and pretty much in perpetuity. You can do monos to spawn even more Oribuses, right? Like you fight him so many goddamn times and he doesn't get that tiresome. It's weird. Like obviously, you know, a little boring, right? But at the same time, like I don't feel bored in the same way that I would feel if I did like 20 Shapers in a row, right? And like this is coming from like the most entrenched player possible. You know, like I'm like one of the people that probably have some of the most playtime for Last Epoch in the world of actual playtime instead of just leaving Steam AFK. So it's just kind of weird that even I personally, as someone who's killed probably more than 1,000 Oribuses, easily more than 1,000, right? At this point, that I'm not really that tired of them. Because I'll get tired of the Harbingers, right? A little bit here and there. But I don't get that tired of Oribus because it's just because of the randomness involved. It's kind of like, okay, you know what it's like? It's like when you have like Pokemon cards, okay? Like when like opening a pack of cards, you know, you don't know what's going to be in there. You have a good idea of what's going to be in there, you know, because you know how like card games work. You have a good idea of like the theme of the set. You have a good idea of like, you know, the rarities and what you're going to see, but you never know exactly what you're going to get. And because of that slight randomization that happens, it makes it so that you can be like, well, this Oribus that I spawned was so much more disgusting than this Oribus I spawned. Like every single time I spawn a blood Oribus, like I shit my pants, dude. But then like if it's any other Oribus other than the blood Oribus, I'm fine. The fire one is a little, you know, annoying, but he's not like as terrifying as the blood Oribus, right? Now I'm looking at the time and how long it takes for me to finish this fight. And I don't know why. Why am I taking that long on this fight? What happened? I'm actually genuinely curious because I played this character like a few months ago, right? So I don't remember. Why was this so difficult? Oh yeah. Okay, I remember. Okay. So for some weird reason, over the past few like weeks, I've been doing a few fire Oribuses and his fire stars there. I don't know what's going on, but they feel faster. And I think that's what my problem is I'm really paranoid. Like I'm absurdly paranoid of the fire stars, mainly because I probably died a few times to them. Cause like you can like look at them and you see their animation, right? Do they get faster when he has like faster attack speed? Because Oribus, I'm pretty sure, does scale speed with corruption, but I didn't think it affected like his, you know, fire sons. Maybe I'm just paranoid. Like I could just be legitimately paranoid and like I'm going crazy, right? But yeah, I don't know why this one took so long. I guess it's just because I was like super fucking paranoid. I mean, there are a lot of like one-shot things here. Like the balls could one-shot me. You know, the Oblivion Stone could one-shot me. There's a lot of stuff that could hurt me, right? Oh my God, another one. Oh, dude, you gotta remember, I gotta do this for like the next 20 fucking videos too, for the next 20 builds. What have I done to myself? Why did I do it this way? Oribus Gauntlet, Oribus Gauntlet. Everyone loves the Oribus Gauntlet. Yeah, I think the problem is like, well, okay, I'm going to have to do this a lot. So I need to figure out a different thing to talk about at this point. So I got to think about topics, right? So I'll make sure to do that next time around. Well, maybe we'll introduce like a little bit of like a reading, like a dramatic reading of something. We could like go read reviews of Last Epoch. You know what? That's some really cool stuff. That's a good idea. Definitely have to do that next time. Now, part of the reason why these fights end up being so long, even though the build's like doing fine, is just mainly because like Orbis's melee attack is no joke. Like, no joke. He'll slap a motherfucker. Like, Orbis is not like Orbis can throw hands. Like, he's got the hands, dude. Like, when he slaps you. Like, his actual basic attack actually does numbers. Like, look at that. See how he fucking slaps me and I go down to like 500 health or whatever, shit like that. Like, he's got hands and it shows. And ever since they buffed him and fixed the bugs with him and all that, his hands have gotten even worse. He's like, you know, they have like tournaments where people slap each other and shit. Orbis would win. He's got like the biggest bitch hand. Like, do you think he's like a pimp? Because he's got like the pimp hand, you know? He's like slapping people. I don't know. Definitely a thought. Now here's some 700 corruption gameplay. Just to give you an idea, between all of those Orbises, I did have to like finish a monolith in between them. So of course I've been having to do monoliths as well this entire time. So it's not like as if I've only been doing bosses. But let me tell you, oh my goodness. Yeah, the clear is still pretty good. It's because we're shooting out 4 shadows and then we're using Blade Shield, because if things get in melee range or we get in melee range of them, they die because of the Blade Shield. And generally the things that stay away from you, that don't go into melee range of you, right, are the things that will generally die to the barrage of, you know, shurikens. And even then, at this high of corruption, like, I don't feel that squishy. I don't feel like I take that much damage. Like, I'm even like standing in like lithorak explosions. Like, it's nothing. It's kind of funny. Those Bolros, for some reason, they do a lot of fizz damage. I have noticed, though. One of the only problems sometimes is like you need to get in melee range to actually get your mana back to synchronize strike more. So you do have to pay more attention to how much you're spamming your blade shield on things. But you can get like used to it. It's not that big of a deal, right? And you know, it feels really good when you get around to it. And now for the final harbinger of the run. The Harbinger of Defilement at 700 corruption-ish. 716 exactly. Yeah, I like that they added that to the bar there. Makes it way easier for me to keep track from just watching random videos, like random clips. But yeah, Harbinger of Defilement, 700 corruption. Feels pretty good. Not like the fastest kill ever, but like I said, the fact that Blade Shield even functions is more like the thing I'm more surprised about. Like, and the scaling isn't done yet. You could actually invest. Like, I think this is one of my faster 0 to hero runs. Like, I could definitely say I did this within like 12 to 14 hours. Like, in terms of total playtime, it definitely felt like it. Because what ended up happening was I just enjoyed the character that much that I just kept playing and playing and playing, right? So, you know, sure, whatever you want to feel like, right? It feels so good. Like, I don't know. I just have fond memories of this build. I just have really good, fond memories. Really comfortable memories. Very fun jumping around and using Blade Shield, right? But that's going to be it for me today. All that being said, this has been Dread. I'll have to go do something else. We'll definitely try to think about doing something else for the Orbis Gauntlet next time, right?